Yes, I don't know where we are, but one thing I know for sure, we are on the Real Life Radio podcast. This is Real Life Game Changers, and we want to bring some game changing advice to you this session, this evening, this podcast. Because I tell you what, isn't it been rather challenging over the last few years to continue to keep the mind straight and the emotions straight when it comes to your property projects? First of all, guys, let's give it a share. Yeah, let's give it a share. So we got something really cool to be sharing with you this evening, and it is because prices are going up in the old property industry. So labor's gone up. What else has gone up, guys?
Material
Input
costs.
costs, yeah, material costs, demand for scheduling contractors, getting projects done on time, things delays. Yes, good, yeah, good. So people who are here live, yeah, give us a chat, give us a share, hit the share button. Let's get it out there, and because this is really important information, right? Anybody who's looking to get into property or already in property, you're going to need to know this because this is vastly important when it comes to being able to run the show. What is this? What is this? I need to somehow find this show. Yeah, so yeah, start tagging some people. Yeah, we got people over. Yeah, tax. I mean, tax is a problem. The corporation tax is increasing. I mean, that's gone quiet again, but that's not going away. You know, the thresholds. But check this out. Like, so you go over £250,000 profit. Oh my God! Now they want to charge you crazy amounts, something like 25% corporation tax. That's mad. That like forces people to make less money. You know, I'm not sure what the incentive is there. I don't get it. Yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, banks as well on sites. A lot of people. I tell you, another problem is a lot of people have purchased some land or certain developments because what was working back then, and when I say back then, even as little as 6 to 12 months ago, you know, people were leveraging quite high, but now as a developer trying to sell it, you know, is not viable because bank now they got this big loan on it because they bought it thinking that prices were what they were. Now banks won't lend on it because they know that that loan's got to be cleared as part of the sale, and it's closed and crunched the gap on because the construction prices are increased. So what do you do? Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comments. What is it that you do? You know, what are some problems, or what's your story, guys? John, Charlotte, we got something to reveal this evening as well on how you solve this problem. But first of all, just what problems, what challenges have you seen, heard from others, or even experienced?
Well, so we invest outside of our area, so we needed to sort of knuckle down the build process and the build costs and the build teams very early on, or we chose to do that. But yeah, as we were getting involved in property, getting started in property, we had heard a lot about build costs at that time. What was that, 2021? It was around the time where build costs were increasing. And I mean, the problems were kind of the same then as they are now in terms of, shortage of supply. The interest rates weren't going up at that point, but they are now.
And yeah, just generally costs in general, right?
Yeah, the build costs versus like what we're going to then pay for the property prices were going up, and then what were we going to get for the GDV at the end. So trying to factor all that in really was the main thing that we noticed. But other people had spoken about loads of different stuff that had happened to them recently when we joined sort of the tribe. We were getting a lot of experiences from other people in and outside of that community. But yeah, like some horror stories about builders, not being able to finish the job, not being able to manage their own cash flow, and then that affecting the build, affecting the investor. So yeah, there was a lot of different things going on. thankfully, we haven't experienced that level of problem, but I think it's because of the choices that we made early on.
And there is a reason why, which we'll get to. We'll get to. So let me tell you about some massive disasters. I mean, I know when I've been, so here's a couple of scenarios. I've gone cheap on build quotes before, and it's looked really good on my initial figures. Now, one of two things happens when you do that. Yeah, either firstly, all the extras come flying in like no tomorrow. Yeah, and like there's extra because they didn't quote properly. Like, you know, get to in the job and we're like, oh, we didn't quote for Windows, and I'm like, well, but it's a HMO. Like, you're gonna have to make them fire, you know, regulations. Like, how can you not quote? Oh yeah, $5,000 here. Oh, we didn't do that. Oh, you know, another $8,000 there. I was like, well, hold on a second. This cheap quote is no longer cheap quote. So that's what can happen. Another thing that can happen, and this already did happen to me in a couple of my properties, is, you know, like skimming over stuff. And when I mean skimming over stuff, I mean like plastering over stuff, skimming over. Yeah, all of a sudden, damp, mold, you know, starts coming through. Wallpaper starts peeling off. Just, you know, dirty, horrible stuff starts coming through the floors, the skirt from behind the skirting boards, because it's not visible for sometimes 6 months, even a year. But like, if you're in it for the long haul and you want to start getting a great return on investment, you got to have something that's solid, man. You got to have something. Let's hire cheap labor from these immigrants or find out UK companies, maybe someone's saying on YouTube. Yeah. Well, that's another thing. Like I'm not sure about cheap labor or who hiring, but one thing for sure is that with all the different projects that I have been a part in, from leaving school, working on site, working on the tools, I know I wasn't taken care of. They're not really that bothered. You know, one day you're there, one day you're not. They're not really that interested. Yeah. The next thing for me was then having people full of excuses all of the time. Like being able to find a contractor, a builder, a bunch of people that would stick to what it is that they said. Yeah. But when problems came up, actually communicate, not like sit there in their office coming up with a story of how they can blame me or blame someone else or blame the weather or blame the bank or blame, you know, I don't know what. Yeah. But other than just take responsibility to fix it, because things go wrong, definitely go wrong. Yeah. So with this in mind, you know, in these increasing, it's like it was difficult to work with people as well, because they didn't see it or know it from the investment side. Yeah, all they seeing it as, I'm a contractor, I got a job to do. That's what we like. They're not seeing it like, hold on a second. The job that you're doing is to create an investment property. You know, sometimes contractors, they might look at investors and just be like, oh, you know, they got all the money in the world. But hey, listen, sometimes we're working to very tight margins and budgets to make things work. And sometimes deals don't work. That's why we got other properties and other projects. And I just did a load of videos on this today of like, some people say, well, you know, it's risky to do more than one deal at a time because you got all this to manage. And I'm like, no. It's risky to do one deal. You know, you've got to have other deals in the pipe. But then if you got stuff hitting the fan with your construction, nobody's sticking to timelines, you don't even know, because how do you trust them? Because if you're an investor, how do you know that, hold on a minute, that amount of work's been done, so yes, it's right for me to pay that? And in the early days, I know I've seen some people, and even myself, it's like, well, is that the way the job is flowing? Like you just said it's 5 phases. You took the entire cost that you're going to charge us and you just split it into 5. So how do we know that those amounts are for what you've done? Yeah, it's crazy stuff. Let me know in the comments, guys, what challenges, what nightmares, what rogue traders have you come across? Because it's an industry it's really interesting. So before we get to something that's really cool and how to handle this, I just want to say, you know, the whole real life mission is everybody be free. You know, everybody on the planet be free, financially, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Yeah. And how do we do that? We first of all, we have a training company that, like, you know, trains people who want to be trained. And when I was doing that, I was realizing, hold on a second, I'm undoing a lot of stuff from people in the past. I was like, okay, let's just go to the root. So then we started a charity and we started training the children from 4 years old about money, about finances, about this good stuff. So they start handling this from very young and knowing about borrowing from the bank and getting investment, getting returns, which, by the way, our next WEC event, whenever you're watching this, I don't know, but if you're watching this before, and our next WEC event, open to tribe members only at the moment, is the 15th of April. 15th of April. So get that down. And register to get your children coming to that. Then I realized there's one gaping hole missing. And it was when a guy from a previous company that I was running said to me, when I was talking a bit more about mindset and, got to have spiritual alignment. And he was like, I work with Fortune 500 companies. And if you talk this, or no, he said, not me, but he said, if I talk this spiritual nonsense with them, they'll have me hung. And I was just like, these guys are never going to come over to this. And that's when I had an epiphany. And I realized if those guys, let's call it corporate, are not going to come to this transformational work and understand there's 5 areas: financial, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, then we'll take it to them. So how do we do that? We go into the industry. And that's why Real Life Creative Construction was born, because construction is one of those areas that people are not treated very well. And, career paths are few and far between. Hospitality is another. That's why we're going hotels, resorts, restaurants, gyms, like all of these, chains, all these industries. So anyway, coming back to this construction problem, that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to create businesses that people actually want to work for. We want to create mechanisms and platforms where contractors can partner with us, work with us, and we can, foresee challenges coming up and stick around when the challenges come up. So that's why Real Life Creative Construction was born. Now, give me your slice of the pie, John and Charlotte, of, because you said you didn't have as many problems as what you was hearing about. So why was that?
Yeah, well, I think that we chose to invest in an area that wasn't our local area. And from the outset, we pretty much said we don't want to be sort of like, traveling to the projects, and because we didn't feel like that was going to be the best use of our time, and we weren't then able to scale, because the more of our time that was put into the project, the less projects we could do. We basically got a really cool build team on board, but we were able to have the process in place where we were investing remotely. We were getting updated, and still do get updates weekly. We get photographs, we get sort of some words of what the progress is, and that system works for us. That system really works for us. It gives us the ability to know what's going on in our projects without having to be there.
And a team as well that knows exactly, like, as people when we first started, we were kind of learning along the way of like what's needed, especially for things like HMOs, like what things do we need in place, and we were just learning like step by step along the way. So just having like build teams as well that knew exactly what needed to be delivered and deliver on that.
Yeah, like, because as well as the actual building happening, there's building control, who's like a third party that comes in to make sure it's all being built to standard. There's structural engineers who do calculations and tell the build team what they need to build it to. And there's like the HMO licensing at the back end that requires however many different certificates that need to be produced. But these things can't just be an afterthought, because they need to be done along the way to prove that it's being built to the right standard.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Yeah, you say, the team. So you had first-hand experience of using Real Life Creative Construction, right?
Yeah.
And a couple of projects that have gone through, there were some challenges, floors falling off and all the rest of it. But like then everything was approached from like an investor's point of view. Even on current deals, investors' point of view, rather than just like, well, that's it. No, we can't do it, because that's the construction aspect of it. Obviously, it was great for people to do that. So here's the thing. If you don't know about building, it's definitely, you got to get the right people in place. But even, look, I've been in construction 20 years. Yeah, about 20 years. Yeah. And like, even I like to have all the other people around me. Yeah. So anybody who's out there who's, you know, in construction, or they're a trade, or maybe they got the company, if you're going to start scaling, going to start expanding, then, you know, having these people take care of your properties from an investment point of view. I mean, that's who you want to bring into your team, really, isn't it? I mean, John, tell us a bit about your experience in construction as well, because you've been in construction for how many years?
All my adult life, actually. So what's that? Since like 18 to 34, 17 years.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
17 years.
So 17.
Yeah, it was nothing to do with like actually what we're doing now, but the process of construction, the principles were pretty much the same, you know, and we were running it as a business. So it was about cash flow, about managing teams, managing people, making sure that everyone was able to get what they needed from who they needed it from. So as well as the actual physical things being put in place, wherever it's being put in the ground or in the loft or on the roof, the principles are very similar. And I think the difference between some sort of like build teams that we were speaking to when we first started this process, and we were exploring different areas and that sort of thing, was that, yeah, some people are builders and investors as well, which makes a huge difference, because like you said, they know what the investor's looking for because they are one. And they've probably been in that position before where they didn't have a build team and they needed to build that sort of relationship and trust. So they know what the investor's looking for. And also, it's not just about building, it's about running it like a business, because each project has its own cash flow process that's completely separate to the builder's business and to the investor's business. It's just about that project is now a business in itself that needs to deliver and needs to, you know, fund its own cash flow, basically.
Yeah, and even though, like, look, I've trained thousands of people. I know you guys have been trained as well, and you guys are doing very successful. Built portfolio over 2.5 million. You guys have in just, you know, 18 months or something like that. Now, even with that said, you still got to have the right people in your team that understand it running as a business. Because if not, and I've used them. They're just like, listen, I don't care, mate. I've done the work. Give me the money. Yeah, but like, then sometimes we're like, well, hold on a minute. Like, you're literally just turning around as a week and saying, pass me the money. Like, if it's not set up from the beginning, and guys listening to this, like, this is what you need to pay attention to. You got to get it set up from the beginning, that like the cash flow of the project, we know, like, so, you know, as the investor yourself, when is the money required? When is the money required? What is the process for the money required? Because some people are like, yeah, we're done now. Get the QS out. If you've got a development loan, for example, it's like, well, hold on a minute. You got to get them booked in. They've got to schedule the time, and then they've got to file their report. And then they've got to give it to the bank, and then the bank have got to have a look at it. Then they've got to pay you. So then you're going to be hounding me, causing problems on the job without even, and then like start blaming us. And blaming me, blaming the other person. So, like, you need to be able to work with a company that understands that cash flow, understands how the banks are working. The brokers can liaise with them because they're doing it. So that's why real life creative construction is for the investors, by the investors. You know, like when I first started working by myself, yeah, when I was about 18, 19, I started doing jobs. I used to do all these extensions and stuff like that. No, that's not for us. I didn't want to do it for investors. Yeah, why? Investors, you know, quick growing, massive value. Obviously, we train a lot of people as well, but at the same time, that's what we want to provide. You know, and anybody, you know, who wants to tap in to over, what is that, 37, nearly 40 years experience, 4 decades of experience running construction businesses, multi-million, by the way, multi-million. I think, John, between us, we nearly done nearly 100 million of construction projects. So who would like a piece of that, by the way? Yeah, piece of that experience. So check out the website, reallifecreativeconstruction.com, and really got to understand, like, because this is not just for people like investors who are part of like Real Life Tribe. This is for people who are like, well, how about, like, I've got loads of money because I'm in business, but I need a portfolio. I want to build a portfolio. I want to park money. And that was another problem, wasn't it? You know, like, people not got time to find the deals. They don't really even want to get trained. They're not even interested in making calls to agents or anything like that. You know, they're not interested in building that aspect of the business. They're just like, hey, listen, I've got some dosh. I've got some cash. Here you go, sunshine. Sort me out, will you? And it's like, that is where then because hold on, let me just go back a step first. We built, and the reason I wanted to do it as well, because I knew this resorts thing was going to kick off. Yeah, I knew we were going to build a big team, and I wanted a big team to go and build these resorts all over the world. Yeah, so 50 locations. We talked about that on the previous episode of Gamechangers, but 50 locations in 11 different countries, and that is like a $2 billion revenue a year business. Worst case scenario, it's 550 million. That's if we get the lowest amount of everything in every sector that we're going to do. Yeah, 550 million is the lowest. Worst case. So we wanted to build that, but then we kept seeing this problem: people running away with people's money, projects not being managed properly because of both sides. Yeah, because the communication between both sides. It's not just the investor, it's not just the builder. It's like the bridge is missing. Yeah, so the bridge then became like, okay, let's be for the investors, by the investors. So then, going back to what I was just saying before, some people, they don't want to make those calls, get deals accepted. They're not interested in that aspect of it. They're like, let's build a portfolio. I need to build a portfolio, but I don't know how, I don't know where to start. That is where the ultimate turnkey portfolio builder comes in, TKPB. Yeah, so check that page out on the website. TKPB is like, ultimate turnkey portfolio builder. So this is a service where like deals will be found to you based on criteria, based on money you want to invest. Projects will be done, delivered, spec'd out. You can choose all the designs along the way if you want to. Some people are not even bothered about that. They just want to say, hey, what's it going to be at the end of it? Yeah, and then keys are handed over, and it's liaised with either sales or it's liaised with management agents, and it's handed over, and it literally builds your portfolio. Yeah, there we go. So there's some thing. Sounds like we've got a good marketing plan. Oh yeah, I mean, the marketing is what we're doing right now. Yeah, but like the thing is, it's a problem in this industry. It's a problem. Yeah, so we wanted to solve that problem. We wanted to build this, monster of a team who, by the way, the lads are taken care of, and the contractors that we work with, absolutely blessed to, be connected with all of these guys. And they take good care, because that's the culture. Got to take care of the lads. Yeah, got to take care of the people and give them a career path as well. In fact, these people who are part of that, I thought of this today. I didn't even mention it to you guys. Yeah, but I just thought, people who are part of this team, part of the creative construction team, they are allowed to come to Property Wealth for free. Yeah, real life Property Wealth for free, like, because why not? Like, we see them on site, we they're doing a great job. We were just in Nottingham the other day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, on one of your jobs happening, and this was like insane. Like, great lads, great vibe, really polite, and it's like, look, these deserve to come and see the other side as well. Just like when I was on site. Yeah, I mean, they might think it's wacko. I mean, I know I would have. If someone came up to me on site and say, come to this, high-fiving, yeah, but at least come and experience it. At least come and see what it's all about, to know that there's good people behind all of these properties and these projects that then, what's it called? Are going to be delivered by these amazing people and these amazing teams.
Yeah, and they can also get to see like the people behind the projects. Certainly in the real life tribe, like there's reasons why, there's powerful reasons why, there's powerful missions behind everyone's journey, and the reason they got started and the reason they continue as well. So I think that's really important, because otherwise it is just potentially assuming that property developers are kind of like a faceless beast.
Yeah, so hit us up with any questions you've got right now. What problems are you facing? And the thing is, people are so worried to talk about this stuff. I've seen so many people just take it for granted that everybody in the process knows what they're doing. You guys know I'm always saying, look, it's not if it goes wrong, it's when it goes wrong. And who do you want by your side when it goes wrong? Someone who takes responsibility, someone who steps up and owns up. Someone who puts their skin and their money where their mouth is and puts their neck on the line, not just saying, well, it's up to you, you sort it out, this is extra cost, come on, I'm leaving the site, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, or the other hand is they go quiet, they don't say any of that, and they start running off with your money. Yeah, we've seen that before, and that comes from come from not doing it. So look, I'm not stupid. I know there's problems. I've had many problems before you guys even came a part of it, right? And that's the reason why you wanted to become a part of this, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, like my experience in construction was that it was all about like the flow of cash. And if in our business, in our groundworks business, if we didn't have the ability to fund, we were pretty much funding projects on our own whilst we were waiting to get paid from clients. And we're talking about like huge national, sometimes multinational organizations that obviously were managing their own cash flow situations. So I think one of the real hot topics, certainly in the property development world, is cash flow, because if the builder is not able to, well, if any part of the process isn't able to manage their cash, then it's going to become a problem. But certainly if the builder isn't or hasn't got a team around them that can help them manage that process of cash like a business, then the project will come unstuck. And that's something that I really noticed straight off with real life creative construction, was that, you know, sometimes the QS is just too busy. And like he's doing his report or she's doing a report, but they're doing as many as they can to try and, you know, help as many people as they can. But for some reason, it doesn't hit the deadline. The banks have certain deadlines and they want to get it across on time. And then sometimes the bank might say, oh, there's another document that you need to provide, or, you know, all these things add time. And with creative construction, obviously, it was set up like a business, to be run as a business. It had some float to allow for these things. So we weren't then sort of told, well, you know, the payment needs to come now, or that's it, we can't continue. So I think that's a really powerful thing for anyone watching that is in the process of finding a build team or looking for a build team or speaking with build teams. Absolutely get onto the topic of cash flow and how it's managed, like one of the first things.
Yeah, but you know the problem with that, John, when you have that, even have that conversation, it's like Amajit is saying here, who's put this on here. Yeah, he said, I had a builder who's doing my house. He was fantastic in the beginning, but then his interest kind of just, you know, went away. But here's the thing, you know, how do we, like, people come in, they rip it out, you know, it's like, hey guys, look how fast. Like the three areas that have the biggest impact visually, where you're like, oh wow, is the rip out, plastering, decorating. Yeah, so when it comes to ripping out, it's like people are like, oh wow, look how much we've done. Okay, well, it's just one of the phases, and it looks massive because you've ripped everything out. Yeah, the next thing is when all the plasterboard goes on and you start plastering, it's like, oh wow, look how much work we've done. Yeah, but what's sort of the work behind there? You know, so sometimes it may look like it's good and sometimes it may not look like it's good. Either way, sometimes it's hard to judge. But I tell you what as well, how do you know that they had your interest at heart? Because a lot of them, they collect all the cash and then there's very little cash to collect towards the end. Yeah, because all of the money does go in the beginning to the rip out, if there's any structural, the plasterboard, the white goods, you know, the tiling, you know, sparky plumber, all of that stuff. That's where all the money goes. And then towards the end, yeah, it's still, you know, still money, but there's less. So there's less incentive for those ones that are not really that bothered. Yeah, and that's when it goes off. But then also it's at the end of the job where the truth is revealed, whether they were doing a good job or not. Anybody can look like they're doing a great job as they're going along. But when it comes to like everything being finished, that is the only point when you know. And let's face it, at that point, it's too late. It's too late to find out whether it's on track or not. Oh, yeah, we're doing well. Yeah, we're doing well. You're doing well. And last minute, well, hold on a minute. Like, where's everything? How can everything be put together? You know, I've got furnishings are being arrived, you know, are coming, you know, and it's crazy. So it's a good point that you say that. But how do they know? And that's, again, check out, you know, the website. I don't know if did I put the website in there. I'm going to put it in there again. Yeah, check it out, because we'll even explain on the website. I don't even know if I could share this. Can I share screen? Can I do this? You know, go check it out, because at the end of the day, yeah, hold on a second. I don't know how to do this. I've never shared the screen before. What happens if I share the screen? Oh my God, no, it's asking me for security details and all sorts. Yeah. Can you still see me? Yeah, I'm still here, yeah?
Yeah.
You're gonna have to check it out yourself. But at the end of the day, it says under the services, you know, here's the process. First, discover out your needs, then project proposal, project launch, but then completion with 100% guaranteed satisfaction. Why? Because we don't just leave the show. We don't just leave you hanging there. We want to go past the finish line. We want to get feedback after. We want to measure the success. Like, did it hit the spot? Are you making money? Yeah, because that is a massive hole from contractors. They're not. I mean, it's not like they're not interested, but it's not their expertise. It's not really a concern. They've got the next job to worry about. They've got their bills to pay and all the rest of it. They're not really worrying about, am I making my money? Yeah, sorry, is the investor making their money? So we've got to go past it. Yeah, so you give a great thing there. Yeah. Okay, here was another question. Yeah, when presenting a deal to an investor, how much confidence is needed on whether the project can successfully get planning or not? At the moment, presenting to investors, but not fully. Yeah, so it depends on what the planning is. Yeah, like we or like depends. Like couple of like if my job depends on like I must get planning for it to happen, then I'll only get the offer accepted subject to those conditions. And then obviously the investment is subject to those conditions. Where if I've got a like best case scenario, planning gets accepted, I can do the conversion or the build. Yeah, well then that's what it is. Worst case, I don't get the planning, then I can only turn it into this. In fact, John and Charlotte, you guys had that, right? And that and I know you're getting coaching, you're getting mentoring and all of that, but also having the builder, which was creative construction, be flexible and be like, well, if it is going to be 3 flats that you can only turn it into, this is your cost for that. If it is going to be planning permission, you can turn it into the 11 studios that you're going to do, then there you go as well. So it's to have those feasibility costs. And that's something that's missing as well, because there's a lot of this. Yeah. It's going to cost. Yeah, it's going to cost about that much. Yeah, it's going to cost about that much. Yeah, and then it's like they'll lowball you, dangle the carrot, and they'll be like, "Oh, it's time to do the work now." Oh, yeah, it's going to cost this much. Sorry about that. Oh, the other one was just a estimate. Yeah, so it's to also be as accurate from the beginning as well. So, Aidan, I hope that helps in terms of what I'm saying there. Yeah, if it's subject to the planning going through, then so is the investment. Yeah, so there's no risk for them, because if you don't go through, it's not happening. And if it don't go through for you, don't exchange and you don't complete on the property, you just probably lose a couple of £1,000 if that, depending on how much the architect drawings or the planning in the first place. Yeah. Okay. Very good. Any other questions? Let us know, guys. Put those questions through. Yeah, because we will start wrapping up, because we got some things to take care of. Yeah, definitely, Amajit. Yeah, or like if the deal, like I'll tell you what, we had as many times we've done HMOs, we needed sui generis, or we were doing 17-bed HMO, 7-bed, 9-bed, 8-bed, like all these different ones where we needed the planning. We were like, well, look, the offer's subject to the condition that we get that happening. For good multiple exits. Yeah, and have multiple exits on the deal as well. Yeah, absolutely. Anything else you guys want to say before we start wrapping up on this construction price increases and the challenges that people are facing?
I would say another thing for Aidan, actually, like the other thing that we were doing along with the best and worst case scenario on that project where we were sort of subject to planning or not subject to planning, was speaking with the local authority, because then you kind of start to get a better idea of the chances of it going through or not going through. Well, you certainly know, or we certainly knew what our challenges were going to be, right?
That's true.
So yeah, get speaking to the planning as well in the meantime. Yeah, but on the construction, I think it's so important now as well, because the prices are generally, cost of living is going up, prices are increasing, everything seems to be squeezed. So it's very, very important that for us anyway, in our investments, that we know what the cost is going to be, because it might be, focusing on what the actual number is, but really what matters is the certainty of that number going into it. Like you mentioned earlier, Mark, I'd far rather have a higher number to begin with and it stay there than have a lower number and it get increased, because the bank might think, well, we're only lending you X amount. And if you told us the higher number at the start, we could have sorted it, or maybe we wouldn't have done, and you would have got a different option. So I think certainty is really key, as much as possible in these projects. And the build team, the cost is a really, really key part in that process, because that's where most of the cost is going.
Yeah, but also is communicating and exploring all the options. So there's many times when it's like certain things like build controller said you got to do this, or like we reveal something behind some walls or in behind some woodwork or whatever, and it's like, oh, now this needs doing. And it's easy just to slap it on and say, here you go, it costs X amount of thousands to figure this out. But you got to explore those options again. Being for the investors, by the investors, having that approach will be like, hold on, let's explore. And sometimes we took 3 weeks to explore, push things right to the deadline, be able to get, access for trucks to come. So like we didn't have to handball it all out. Man, there was like £5,000-6,000 there. There was 8,000 in foundations. There was 1,500 quid here. Like it soon add up. So if you don't explore the options to be like, yeah, well, okay, well, that is kind of the last resort. That's all we can do. Then all of those things will just start adding up.
And at the beginning as well, with planning, like before the property is even purchased, there's so much to navigate, so many conversations that can be had, so many questions that can be asked, not just accepting this is what it is, this is how much it costs, because the local authority, they're just doing what they do. They're following a script essentially and saying it's this type of project, that's how much it costs, there you go. But like we've experienced with creative construction as well, I think it was about £4,000, wasn't it? In actual cash that we'd paid to the local authority for part of the planning process on the project that we were at the other day, that then got refunded about, I can't remember how long. Was it 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that? Later. And it's just come from asking questions, but like we didn't know the questions to ask as the investors in that scenario, but the people that were in the investors with the experience, i.e. creative construction, knew just the things to challenge. Because what's the worst that can happen? They just say, no, it is that much. You're like, okay, no worries. But if it's going to save you a couple of £1,000s, I'd certainly rather know that the team that I've got on board are just going to be asking those questions. We didn't prompt it either. No. We weren't saying, bloody hell, that's expensive. We were just like, that's how much it costs.
Yeah, that's where it is. So, yeah. Good
point. It's really powerful, yeah. Really powerful.
Absolutely, and this is very key. So anybody who needs to reach out, John and Charlotte are right here on hand. And go check out our website, and also check out the property wealth thing. If you want to learn how to do it, be that investor, or be able to raise finance from other people's money. By the way, go and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're not already. The gold that's coming on there, I surprised myself. We said, how do you go from buying a HMO to buying your own island? You guys are going to love that one. Yeah, you're going to love that one. Yeah, so that'll be coming, very soon. But you'll go check it out, subscribe, so it notifies you of all the things. How to. Oh my God, it's over. Like I'm so excited. Like now's the time. Like even I put on my Instagram earlier, I was like, look, I'm so excited about property investing right now. And what I think it was? I was trying to figure it out. Like, why am I so motivated about it? I've been doing it like 20 years in construction, last 5 years, 6 years in investing. I was like, why all of a sudden have I got this surge? And I think because things have tightened, numbers have tightened, money in, money out, is like things have changed. I'm like, yes, I'm so excited that like it's changing, like it's a competition, so like when I started, I was being taught stuff out of a textbook that was written 15 years ago, and that shit ain't the same now. Yeah, so I like that, especially our trainings, my daily business, it's like everything's changed. Well, that don't work anymore, so let's figure out how we figure, what do we do now? And that's why I love this game. Yeah, and I think that's why I'm so enthusiastic now. So properties being purchased, money being raised, get in touch, if you want to work with, invest, just have security. Or if you want to do it for yourself as a TKPB, turnkey portfolio builder, then reach out for that. But if you want to learn to do it yourself, get on the phone, getting offers accepted, and be that investor and build that business, then get yourself to Property Wealth, the 2-day investor, the 2-day event. Yeah, guys, anything you want to say before we wrap this baby up?
No, I think we covered a lot there.
Yeah, no, just really excited.
Excellent. Great to have you guys here. Great to be expanding the team, growing the resorts, and now growing an awesome construction company that, which, by the way, the mission of that construction company is to bring confidence, reliability, and enjoyment while raising the standard of living, the lifestyle, and the community. Yeah. Before you go, it looks like we got one last question. Your other business and construction, compared to other builders and constructions. Yeah, I like it. He quickly got in there with just a one-liner.
It's a hook. He's hooked us.
To stall us. Yeah, I'm guessing something else is coming. Yeah, how does creative construction stack up in terms of cost? Yeah, stack up to against what? Something else? Definitely is not the cheapest. If you want the cheapest, good luck with that. Yeah, because the cheapest ain't never the cheapest anyway. Yeah, but in terms of cost, listen, we do it for the investors, by investors, and it's priced to deliver a good job. Yeah, and take care of people and have awesome people on the job, and also be able to take responsibility when SH hits the fan. Yeah, and other firms. Yeah, and Amajit, to be fair, we're not really interested in other firms either. Why? Because there's number one, there's too many people who dangle the carrot, and it's like, you could be 200, 300, 400K on a job, and they're like, yeah, we'll do it for 150. Yeah, and then it gives a false sense of security, because now you're like, oh wow, this is so much cheaper. They've done it on the same spec, and I've checked everything, and I've gone through it with a fine tooth comb and all the rest of it. Yeah, but you don't know how they're planning their project. Yeah, they might even think they can do it for that. If they're not got the experience. Yeah, but or like, if they're like so fine on the fine line of like making profit or not making profit, all it takes is one tiny slip, they're done. Yeah, they're done, and then you're done. Yeah, so that's crazy. But at the same time, we have different sections of the team. So although, yes, we do multi-million pound projects for the larger scale developers and building these resorts, and that team's all scaled to do that, we have a different arm of the business that can take care of HMOs and flips and renovations. So like, you're not got the overhead of all the other higher level enterprise and commercial things. So that's another thing, because there will be some great people that can deliver, like the big shop fitters out there that are turning over tens of millions of pounds, but then you got the overheads to go with it. So like a refurb that can be done for 200, through them would probably cost 300, because they got the overheads of all of that. So the way we've sectioned it, because we want to keep it for the investors, by the investors, then I hope that answers your question. But it's a case by case. Reach out, get a proposal, get a feasibility cost. And but at the same time, again, it's like we'll only work with people where deals actually stack up. So that's another sense check that you get, where deals stack up. We know you're going to make money. You've got, you've got like contingency and all of that stuff. So thank you for watching and tuning in, everyone. Great episode again. Thank you, John and Charlotte, for being here. Always amazing. And guys, you got to watch this. What do you call? Watch this space? That's what you say, isn't it? You got to watch this space, because this is going to blow up. So until next time, I want to ask you a question. You got to do the right thing for the right reason. Why is that?
Because that is the only way to discover your true potential.
There we go. Thank you so much. Thank you for everyone watching. We will see you next time.